afternoon and welcome to another segment of 360 Degrees of Success. I'm Jeffrey Bloom. I have as my guest today Gary Jacobs from Long Island Backstory. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you.
We're covering
Americans for Legal Reform.
Oh, that's right. President for Americans for Legal Reform. Gary's a very big advocate on mainly very big. Not big in size, but big in what you do.
Okay, good. I'm big in both, unfortunately.
Well, both, all right. So we can cover a couple of topics today. The first topic we're going to cover is we talk a lot about family law, and a lot of the main issues are the costs and what attorneys charge when you go through the litigation process versus, let's just say, mediation, since I'm a mediator, and how you could fight some of these costs and get them either almost all or parts of it forgiven. And that's called Part 137 arbitration. And then after that, later on in the show, Gary is going to be featured on CNN on November 11th on, was it Lisa Ling?
This is Life with Lisa Ling.
This is Life with Lisa Ling on CNN. What time does that come on 11th?
10 o'clock.
Great. So we'll be talking about that a little bit.
Actually, 10:15 p.m.
10:15. So we'll get into that also on the show. So stay tuned for that information. So Gary, so if somebody wants to dispute their fees, and I'm also on the panel for arbitrators for National Supreme Court, where if a client has a dispute on what their bill is, then they go through Part 137 arbitration. And what people don't realize is when they go through these disputes and or when they see their billings, they really need to look at their bills, because attorneys will bill things that should have been billed for paralegal, or excessive time when don't take that much time. And there was a case about a month ago that Gary and I worked with an individual who was going through a fee dispute, and we got $11,000 knocked off his bill.
Right.
We prepped him. We told him what to say, what not to say. So they forgave $11,000 in total, but the attorney had to pay him $2,000, and the $9,000 was forgiven, which is pretty big savings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Gary, you run into that a lot, where the fees are crazy, right?
Attorneys are. A lot of attorneys are out of control. So first of all, as I always say, attorneys, in my opinion, shouldn't be getting this kind of money. You know who should be getting this kind of money? A doctor, or a brain surgeon, somebody saving your life. Oh, certainly a teacher should. These are important people. Right. Not some scumbag lawyer who's going to be taking advantage of you. They're bloodsuckers. There are some good ones. So these attorneys often lose track of what's reasonable in society. For example, I always complain when an attorney is becoming a politician. And they go, put the red light cameras. Who cares? It's a $150 fine. Well, when you're billing at $500 an hour, that's not a big deal. To most of us in the real world, it's a lot of money. But I digress. Going back to that. So, yes, I get a lot of people who are overcharged. And the problem, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, is they go, well, what do I do? Because I'm getting close to my trial. And if I complain to my attorney about the fees, they may dump me, they may screw me, they're going to be pissed at me. This is your lifeline. You're depending on this attorney to, in reality, almost save your life, right? So you don't say anything. But the rules say if you have a bill, I think the attorneys are supposed to bill better, but I believe it's every 60 days.
At least every 60 days.
At least every 60 days.
And in the retainers, it says that if you have a dispute about the bill,
you have 30 days.
You have 30 days. And the reason people don't do that is the same thing like Gary said. But don't be alarmed. If you do have a problem with the high billing and you're afraid to say something because now you're coming into your trial, you could still dispute your billing.
You can still do that. But I do tell people, if you can, and you're watching this, listening to this, try to preserve the record by some innocuous thing. And I don't know if you run into this because a lot of people don't do it, but I'll say, just send an email and say, I have some issues with the bill I'd like to discuss. Sort of preserve your time, and then you could explain to the board why you did it. So you have a problem with the bill. And in fact, many retainers say that if you have a problem, your first line is to go to arbitration. Because they don't want to be sued for malpractice or for fees.
And that's a different issue as well.
Right. So they do say you have to go to arbitration. It's not a bad thing. Most of the arbitrations are a scam in Suffolk County, where I have more experience. Now, you've been on the board in Nassau, and there's another attorney that I know, and she believes they're a lot more fair in Nassau County. And you said that the ones that you were in on, you've told me, they were fair. In fact, you were shocked when you saw the one that happened in Suffolk County.
There are some shoddy billing practices by attorneys, and there are some
there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'd say there's a lot. Because you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, those are cases I see. Obviously, there are more
Right.
arbitrators than me.
Right.
I'm on a panel of 3, so that I don't see all the cases, but there are some that are just crazy. Like we talked earlier about every 60 days. That after like 60 days, I've seen attorneys not billing 6 months, 8 months, a year later. Guess what? They're not going to get those.
Some attorneys are very good in court, but they're not good at billing. They're not good at deadlines. But there's a lot of things you have to look at, not just like, wow, the bill's too high. Because listen, if you don't get your way and you just spend $100,000, you're going to be pissed that you didn't get your way. That's not an answer. That's
right.
not a.
In fact, that's not a reason. If you're disputing your bill, and this is what happens a lot, they didn't win, for lack of a better term.
Win, yeah.
They're going to dispute their bill, so that's not a valid reason.
Right. That's malpractice.
Right. Valid reasons are if there is in fact malpractice. Right. When you go to litigation, you're going to have a winner and a loser. Sometimes a loser and a loser. Whereas in mediation, against I am biased, I'm a mediator. It's a win-win. I would like to think most of that all the time. But so you go to an attorney. You're each going to spend at least anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 each just for retainer, and that's gone no matter what you do. So you're looking at 10 to 20 grand to start, whereas a mediation is less than $6,000 total from start to finish and everything filed with the court. But that's another show that we can talk about another time. So you're looking at your bill, and what attorneys do is they overbill. So I had a case about a month or so ago where attorney billed 2.5 hours to produce a summons with notice. Now, a summons with notice is 1 page and there's 2 attachments with it. It's boilerplate. If you wrote it by hand, it would take you 20 minutes. And the paralegal or legal secretary does that, not the attorney. But the attorney billed on his $450 an hour producing a summons with notice. Now, these are things that nobody would know, right?
Well, you don't know, and that's the thing. You need to show it to somebody, and that's what you and I spoke about. And this person that we know came to us because he's a friend and said, "Hey, can you guys help me?" And we really, enlightened him, and he saw the difference. So, I know one of the things that you talking, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but you were talking, starting about doing sort of somebody to help you prepare for the thing, because you may not know. Right. You don't know what you don't know.
Correct. And I had somebody call me from American Legal Reform. Carl gave her my number. She's in Orange County, upstate New York.
Okay.
And she's got 2 fee disputes that she wants me to help her with. The one, which is really crazy, is the judge, by order, appointed a law guardian for the children. And in the order, it says that the attorney will bill 60 days or less, so she can pay her bill.
Right.
She paid a $3,000 or $4,000 retainer, and it's been over a year, no bills. The last court appearance she was at last month, the attorney says, "Oh, I know I haven't billed. Is it okay if I come up with the bills?" "Yeah, you can do it now." The judge, so she wants to dispute this. So I said, "Look, you can dispute it, but it's by law. It's by letter of law. 60 days. And even what if the judge said it was okay? It doesn't matter. But you can't dispute the bills until you get them."
Right.
So when you get the bills, let's look at them, because you may have other things in there as well.
Right.
But generally, you shouldn't have to pay anything.
Right.
Because she didn't bill like she was supposed to. Just because the judge said she could do that, that doesn't end there.
Yeah, you can't. And that's the thing. So you need to. Listen. If you have a bill, why not show it to somebody? I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars, and like you said, if you showed to me and somebody, a car mechanic, and said, "Hey, I'm putting in these brakes, and I'm going to charge you for 8 hours to do the brakes." I don't know if it takes 8 hours to do brakes. If they tell me, "Look, your car is a complicated car because you got dirt on it, we got to clean." All right, I don't know. Right. So you don't know how long it takes. Who knows. Go to somebody who knows and let them look at it and go, "Hey, Gary, this motion should only be it's boilerplate." A lot of people don't know that legal work, a majority of it, is boilerplate, meaning they take somebody else's motion. Yeah. Listen, like when an attorney does legal fees, they have this, and everybody looks at it who's never seen it before. Wow, this is great. They got all this case law. First of all, they didn't look it up. They've been using the same case law since they graduated law school. Second of all, a lot of times, if you start Googling that case law, you'll find out that it doesn't help you. It helps the other person. Because they don't look at it. They just throw it in. The judges don't look at it. But you can use that.
But there are some cases unique. But yeah, I say for the most part, I would say 80 to 90%, because I work as a litigation paralegal as well. You're using the same case law to fit cases that you've worked on before.
You find the motion
very rarely
you find the motion where they want a pendente lite, and that's all boilerplate. You stick in the names, you put in 3 or 4 paragraphs of what's important, and then then you do your billing. So a lot of the stuff shouldn't take that long, and that's what you could argue in arbitration. Wait a minute, you've been an attorney, because they always boast, "I've been an attorney for 38 years and big practice." Well, you've done that, and it still takes you 3 hours to do a summons. In fact, in the one that we were talking about, I think they charged for over an hour to request a conference.
Not only that, but remember the same case that we got the money back on, or got the credit. They were supposed to evaluate something. What was it, with the taxes?
Right. They're supposed to evaluate his finances.
Finances, 20 hours.
Yeah.
And then they told him
he can't use it.
They told him he can't use it because they're not experts at doing taxes. Right. But it took them 20 hours to tell him.
I think it was almost $8,000, and then they said we can't use it. Yeah. And the interesting thing is you have to read the rules, but you won't know it. So you need to talk to somebody like Jeff who understands the rules, because if they don't know the rules, you wouldn't. You know, one of the things is, the burden is on them to prove that they did the work, not the quality. So you would say to them, hey, you said on this date you wrote this up. Show me what you wrote up, because I never saw it. In this case, show me what you did for 20 hours worth of work. Well, we don't have it. You don't have it. You billed me for it.
Right. And when you go to an arbitration, you're disputing your fees. It's the attorney's burden to prove that that's the work they did and the fees. So if you're in there and you say, yeah, Gary did that work, then you're on the hook.
Right.
But again, if Gary, took 3 hours to do a summons and complaint, then, red flags got to go up. And again, you wouldn't know that as a layperson.
Right.
So it's important to have somebody, look at it. So what I do is, as long as I'm not on the case for fee arbitration, and I may get work on somebody's case, and maybe down the line I'll get the package, and I tell them I can't do it because of conflict, but I will help prepare you for the arbitration.
Which you need.
Right. I can't represent you because I'm not an attorney, but I
just
do
going
arbitration,
in there and
so
knowing,
I know what to look for, and help you present your case just like the person we helped, and $11,000 off his bill. I said that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely, that's huge. Listen, you would not get, and that doesn't. The important thing, that doesn't stop you from being able to sue for malpractice.
No.
Which they try to intimidate you.
They try to intimidate him, and we had this person bring in a court reporter.
That's to me, that's the most
was
important
amazing.
Thing.
The way it worked. Gary
suggested
it. I've never seen anybody do it, but
send in a court. You send in a court reporter, and they get all the appearances on the record, and then there's no dispute, because they do say that you could record if you have two recording, but you know what's going to happen. They're going to be like, oh, well, you stopped it, you didn't stop it, and then at the end of the day, you still got to pay somebody to transcribe it. So just pay somebody to be there. There's an appearance fee of I think $150, and then it's like $7 a pay, whatever it is. An hour or 2 hour thing could cost you $500 or $600, but
if you're disputing $20,000-$30,000, which most of the cases we're disputing, it's worth an extra $300-$400.
Everybody's on notice. There's a bunch of things which you'll tell the people. Which to me, the first thing you do is you ask them, "Do you have any conflict?" Ask them to the panel. Do you have any conflict with this attorney that I'm going up against? Do you know them? Just get it. Listen, it's not illegal to know them. But you want to know. There's an illegal there's a conflict.
Right, what's the relationship?
Oh, what's your relationship? Well, you may find out they work together in the DA's office, they're friends.
Or just an adversary in court, and they just know them through the local bar association.
But they don't disclose these things unless you ask. They're supposed to.
Well, yeah, the attorneys are supposed to. I got an arbitration earlier this year, and it was against a firm who I know, like 3 or 4 attorneys in the firm.
Right.
So I told them, I called up, I said, hey, I know them. They said, that's okay, they said I could do it, but the arbitration never went forward.
Right.
But I disclosed that, hey, I know 3 attorneys in the firm, not the one that was being,
Right, but they may say, by the way, my friend's going before you, So, that there's a bunch of things you have to do, which is, listen, it's a lot of money. You don't charge a lot. To me, it's a smart thing to do.
It's a good thing. You can give me a call at 516-308-7808, or you can visit my website at mymediationservices.com. If you want more information about this procedure. So now we're into the second part of the show, and like I said, Gary is not only is he the president of Americans for Legal Reform, he's also got a show on Altice here on his station, Long Island Backstory.
Yeah.
Again, he's a big advocate.
It's one of the best shows.
Well, except for this one.
Well, I said one of them.
So Gary is a great advocate. He does a lot of things for a lot of people on his own time, and especially in the family law arena. So he's on CNN with Lisa Ling on November 11th. So Gary, let's talk about that a little bit and what that's about.
So what it is CNN picked up on the show, and they took actually one of the stories that we do, which is Dr. Carlos Rivera, who's it's just been a tragic thing.
And how'd they find you?
So whole show. I'm not really sure exactly how they found it. I believe they just probably searched the show. On YouTube, of course, I'm on Altice like you, but on YouTube we have, I believe at this point, almost 700,000 views, almost 1 million people
Wow.
watch the shows a lot. So this person sees, that's not including what people watch on TV because we don't know. And also people share it on other websites. So they picked it up. And Lisa Ling is doing a story. Her show is called This Is Life, and it's called The Dad's Dilemma. Now, we haven't seen the show, so we don't know what it's going to be. Of course, if I don't like the way it comes out, I'm going to be like Donald Trump and tell everybody it's fake news.
Well, I was going to say, if because it's on CNN, this is one time it's not fake news.
So, yeah, exactly. So if I like it, it's definitely not fake news. But they were, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fair. And they came out and they interviewed myself, Dr. Carlos Rivera, Ray Serrano, Chris DiMaggio, who else did they do? Keith Tomzik. And a bunch of us got together. They interviewed in my house. They spent hours in my kitchen interviewing all of us. They followed Dr. I think the main focus is really on Dr. Carlos Rivera and his story because he was going through it at the time. Okay. Now, they wanted to follow him through it and actually go to court and see what happened. But what a shock, Jeff Bloom. They would not let CNN film in the courtroom.
Really?
Now, New York State, courts aren't closed. You have to get permission to film. It's not a law against filming in the court. In fact, sometimes they film in court when it could benefit the politicians. When they arrest some MS-13 guy, it's okay. We have cameras. We don't care about his rights,
right,
even though he's innocent until proven guilty. In this case, they don't let the cameras in. All right, so they didn't really get to do that whole story, but they did follow him around. And it's great that they picked it up. And in fact, Long Island Backstory has acted as a feeder program to many other large networks and documentaries. I think at this point we've been on definitely 3, possibly 4 documentaries that picked up clips from our show, Long Island Backstory, and used it. There's another news show that was done, and currently there's a big network working on, which I can't disclose yet, they make you sign all these agreements, but there's a big network working on the same type of thing and using our show. So that's gonna be, but people are interested in it. And, listen, sunlight is the best disinfectant. This is really going to make a difference. It's easy for someone to say, you're in the court and you talk and they go, nobody hears the guy. And then they go, it's Long Island Backstory. He's got some, Verstunken show on Cablevision. How many people watch it? Well, we got a good time slot. We're on at 5:30.
You're on 2 different days, right?
2 different days. We're on Saturday. At 7 p.m., Channel 20. And then we're on Tuesdays at, I believe, 9:30 or 10 in the morning on Channel 20, and then it's on YouTube all the time.
Right.
So a lot of people see it, but then what scares them is that somebody else is going to pick it up. That's big. On the CNN show, I believe there's going to be, I think they testified to something like 13 million people are going to watch the show.
Wow.
And in fact, they're already doing promos for it, which you saw one of the promos every day. I'm looking on my Facebook page, and people are posting, hey, I just saw you on CNN.
Do you know how long? I mean, obviously, she does a show and you're on a segment of that show,
right?
Correct?
So it'd probably only be a few minutes. But listen,
you don't know. But you don't know.
No, we don't know.
Until it airs.
We don't know until it airs. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's going to be a good thing. It's called The Dad's Dilemma, and listen, it brings light to it. People need to know. The judges need to know. The lawyers need to know that people are watching.
Right.
It's not going to be in silence anymore. Social media is great, and that's why shows like this. I ask people, what's the big deal? Share it, click share, get it out there.
Right. No, there are a lot of issues. We all know the crazy things going on in family court. I knew a lot of it when I got involved in mediation, and then each time I hear a story, it's just so hard to believe. And then Gary will tell you, maybe you can share a story. There's a case you went a couple of weeks ago, going into Nassau Court, where they gave him a hard time because they knew who he was.
Crazy
to get in there.
Yeah.
And they called this. What do they call your show? There was a.
He's actually I keep calling him judge. Not a judge. He's a referee. Referee Lepresti was doing a case, and you know what? I did pick up. I picked up the case because the guy that's involved, the father, this is a guy who's a veteran, and he doesn't promote that he's a veteran. He's, what's the word? He doesn't go out there and say, hey, I'm a veteran, I should be treated differently.
Okay.
But he should certainly be treated fairly, shouldn't he? This man served 2 tours. I mean, you're a veteran too, but he served 2 tours overseas. Now he's in family court and he's treated like shit by this referee. How dare this referee take somebody who fought for our country and treat him like shit? At least treat him with respect, and at the very least, give him a fair day in court. But this referee didn't. So somebody else reached out and said, hey, Gary, you got to meet this guy, cover his story. So I go there to cover the story, and now I'm treated like shit in court. So there's this lawyer in Nassau County. His name is Mitchell Hirsch. My opinion, the guy's just a real prick. You know, when you talk about, you know, how the world is bad because of lawyers, this is one of them. Because, you know what, he's still a human being. And listen, he's getting paid to do his job. But you're going up against somebody who, again, is a veteran. Thank God this guy went to fight, because I don't want to go overseas and fight. This guy went overseas and put his life at risk for a country. Now he's fighting just to see his kids, and this guy's fighting him. So the funny thing is, I get this guy, and he's objecting, Mitchell Hirsch. Oh, I don't want Mr. Jacobs in here. And like, you think this guy went to law school? You think you read the freaking law? The law is in New York State. The courtrooms are open. And
you're educating him about the law that he should already know.
Family court is open. I don't care that you don't like it. You're uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if you're uncomfortable. Maybe he's uncomfortable because he doesn't want to see what a shitty job and what a shitty human being he is. I don't know, but the courts are open. This guy should have known it, but yet he objects. Now, because I'm there, so what does he do? He wants to blow smoke up the judge's ass in front of me. And they're talking about alienation. The judge is trying to convince us that there's no alienation. And he says, Your Honor, who knows better than you about the alienation? Nobody knows better than Your Honor. What, are you kidding me? Nobody knows better than the judge? How about a psychologist, a psychiatrist, the father, the mother?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous what this judge was saying. But guess what? This guy's going to get his. Because the funny thing is, he sends a letter. And I have to thank you, if you're watching, Mitchell Hirsch. He endorsed my show, actually.
It was a great letter.
Believe it or not, this guy endorsed my show. What he wrote was, Long Island backstory, and he's in quotes, is not fake news. Well, thank you very much, Mitchell, for saying that, because I'm going to be reporting on your ass very shortly. So he did, and then he basically put some thinly veiled threats about how the judge will have to deal with me. But the bottom line is, now that I'm covering the case, I guarantee they're going to be paying attention.
Yeah.
Because really, there were some ethical violations. There's a law guardian. You know, I'm not a fan of many law guardians. Cracciolio, I don't know the hell. They're usually failed lawyers that are become either 18B or law guardians. There are a few who are regular lawyers. Regular lawyers get paid, and they're doing this for the right reason because they believe they want to represent the children.
They believe in the best interest of children. And really, it's not just saying it's an actual.
Right, they really are some, but ones like, you know, this, in my opinion, are just shit lawyers who probably couldn't keep the case. So he's the attorney, and I'm in there, and he goes, I object to, Your Honor. You know, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. Excuse me, his job is to do what his clients want. Did he know? Did he channel his clients to know that his clients didn't want me to be there and to object? He had an ethics violation. He violated the rules of the court right there on the record. You think the judge would have stopped it? Nah, he didn't stop it. He listened to them, and then he tried to persuade me, and he ordered me on what I could. You have ordered that you cannot, you can't quote me. You can't use my name. What do you mean you can't order it? It's an open courtroom. You know, it's just, the whole thing was a freaking joke that went on. And what were they so worried about, that I was going to tell the truth?
And there's so many cases, so many examples I could use. But here's one, just in this case in particular. If you think you can go to court, you're going to get done what's right or what you're entitled to. Mm-hmm. You never know what a judge or referee is going to do. So in this particular case, parents had joint custody, equal sharing time, because they lived close to each other. So he saw the dad, who was a non-residential parent, saw his children almost every day.
Almost every day.
Okay.
Because he lived in 5 minutes away.
So in the agreement, it said that she couldn't move more than 20 miles away. And because they were close and every day, there was no child support, basically. Right. So now she moves 20 miles away.
Isn't that the best agreement?
Right. So, right.
That's the best thing for the kids.
So now she moves 20 miles away with a boyfriend. Right. That's another story. And then she goes back to court. Well, now I'm 20 miles away. Dad doesn't see them every day, so now I want child support. And guess what?
Right. Self-created. Well, they're fighting, and he ended up sort of stipulating, so I can't blame the judge. But to give you an idea, they set up because the judge basically said it's okay that she moved out more than the agreement called for. But there's this guy, she got this new boyfriend. Am I allowed to say vagina on this?
Yeah.
Can I say vagina? Control man? Okay. I think his name is I think it's like Vagianos, but I keep thinking of vagina because he reminds me of a vagina. But his name is Vagianos. So if you want to Google it, New York Post, Vagianos. I forget his first name. Maybe somebody will post it on Facebook. Here's a guy who was fired as a New York City tenured teacher. Imagine how hard that is to get fired for abusing handicapped children, abusing them, flipping a kid over in a wheelchair and saying they have no right to live.
And now
he gets fired for it. He documents it in the hearing, yet the judge decides it's better that the kid lives in a situation where they're with this child abuser rather than be with the father who's a veteran and served our country. How effed up is that? How effed up is that? There is something wrong. I got a guy who I helped in Suffolk County a few years ago, Richard McGinty. The guy did suffer PTSD. He was a frontline machine gunner in Afghanistan, or I think it was Afghanistan. After he was done with court, he told me, he said, Gary, I'd rather be overseas being shot at than be in court and be treated the way I was. How sad is that? That because the guy suffered PTSD, they told him he couldn't even see his kid. No, he ended up getting time with his kid unsupervised, but I mean, how sad is that we treat veterans like that? You know, a lot of times I do shows about how we treat fathers, and, you know, there's a bias against fathers, but a bias against veterans? Come on.
And you think that was a bias against veterans in that case?
Well, certainly he was suffering PTSD, and they said, "Oh, he's suffering PTSD. I don't want him seeing the kid." Okay, no problem. He was suffering PTSD. It wasn't a danger to his kid.
Meanwhile, if they were still married, he'd still be with the kids. That would be okay.
Of course, he would be. He would be with the kid. Of course, and I'm wondering if this one in the case that we're talking about with this Vaginios guy, whatever his name is, in Nassau County, in front of Judge Referee Lepresti, are they going to wait till that judge abuses the kid? Who's responsible then? And I think in the judge's decision, it was something like, well, he didn't do anything to the kids and they like him. Oh, he didn't do anything yet?
Not yet.
That's great. Let's wait.
Let's wait.
We all know the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Number one. Number two, we also know that the child to be abused, the most likely person to abuse the child is the new boyfriend. Right. You put those things together.
Playing with fire.
How do you give this person custody? This guy made a decision based on no fact in law, but because the mother took it upon herself to move away, keep the kid, they don't want to change the custody. I say, tell the mother, get your ass back where you are and go back to the shared custody agreement. Maybe that would have been the right thing to do. But no, he did the easy thing, not the right thing. But I'm going to expose him on. I'm going after this guy. I'm going after this guy, Mitchell Hirsch, even though I appreciate that he endorsed my show. Long Island Backstory is not fake news from Mitchell Hirsch. And this law guardian, you know, is a freaking joke.
Any of our listeners who have gone through, our viewers who have gone through the family court system, know that what Gary and I are talking about is real.
It's if you didn't go through it, it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
You know, you wouldn't believe it.
And if you don't believe it, go on Netflix and watch Divorce Corp.
I say go to Long Island Backstory.
You can do that too.
Go to YouTube and Google Long Island Backstory. Subscribe to my page.
You've seen Divorce Corp, right?
Yeah, of course I saw Divorce. All about Casualties of War.
Yeah,
Casualties of War by Yahya McClain.
Right.
That's a great one. Also, there's another Erasing. What's it called? Erasing Families. Erasing. Ginger Gentile did a show. Erasing. I want to say it's Erasing Families or something like that. But, you know, there's plenty of shows on. Now you have the Lisa Ling one. I don't think it's about alienation. But, you know, go online and Google Long Island Backstory Parental Alienation. You'll see this is not uncommon what happens, the way they treat people in the courts, the way they treat loving father. And listen, I do my disclaimer. It happens to mothers too. And it's happening more and more to mothers. So, you know, don't think because you're a mother. I have a lot of women who come to me, a lot of them, and go, listen, at the end of the day, my lawyer told me I'm a mother, I'm going to win custody. It's not so true anymore. No. Mothers do lose custody. And to some extent, it's worse when a mother does, because people go, oh, she lost custody. She must have done something really bad. And yes, a lot of times the mother did something really bad, because you got to do something really bad to lose custody. But not all the time, Jeff, because it could be that that the wife's husband has a relationship, you know, with the judge, the attorney has. There's so much backroom stuff that goes on here. So it's not necessarily that the mother was a bad mother and that's why she lost. Listen, they can't make the guy lose all the time. Right. And when people come to me and they go, well, they always win. I go, well, I put the statistics here on Long Island at about 20% is my calculations. About 20% of the mothers will lose custody. Do you want to take a 2 in 10 chance that you're going to lose custody? No, go to freaking mediation and settle it and go on with your life.
Look, we're running out of time, and I want to have enough time to show you.
I thought it was an hour show. Oh my God, I'm out of time. Yeah, show my clip.
I want to show the clip at the end of the show, but for those who are going through divorce or have been through it, you know, just remember this: you may not be husband and wife anymore, but if they're children, you'll always be mom and dad. So thanks again, Gary, for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Again next week.
And watch the show on November 11th.
November 11th, CNN 10:15 p.m.
10:15 p.m. If you can't watch it, save it. You know, go online, make comments on it, so that they do keep doing shows like this. It's important.
Have a great week, everyone. Take